Next, we'll be introducing Laura, who is a student from Glasgow University. Is Laura here? You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. So, hi everyone, my name is Laura Verdasco and I'm a student at the University of Glasgow. Like many other students, I was asked to come back to my university under the promise of blended learning and all of that. However, most of the students, when they were back, we found out that the moment we moved into private accommodation, most of the content was always to be delivered online. Now, online learning has to obviously be implemented, but the timeline of these developments raises two questions to student health, which make it important to address when and why and how these changes were decided. Firstly, it is sad that at this point we have to be pushing for online learning when every health organization has insisted this is the only way to protect both students and staff. These guidelines were not even recent, they were released in April, and yet they were not being followed in September. Secondly, it raises the question of whether or not it was necessary for students to move into student halls to begin with. This must make us question why and who decided asking students to come back to a country where the rate of infection remained high throughout the entire summer was acceptable, and right when the second wave was expected to hit. Who decided almost 200 cases within just the first week of teaching was the acceptable price to pay for student rent? And where is the risk assessment the university claims to have completed, and why is it not public yet? And this is what I would like to focus on here. Firstly, I would like to express my solidarity to every student affected by the situation, but most importantly, I would like to stress how this was preventable. Every member on the board of directors decided running the university like a corporation was worth it and the consequences that obviously followed. They chose to continue this competition for tuition and hall fees at the expense of our health. And we can see this in every decision they have made since the very beginning. For example, health organizations have pushed for testing to become widespread. Yet in this organization that cashes in millions every year, testing is lacking and not easily available. Students have tried getting tested and have had to attend different services that were not part of the university. Now, what are they spending their money on, and why is it not on our welfare? We shouldn't be paying fees to attend university, but we should definitely not be paying fees only to fuel the grid of management. And another example is the treatment of staff. We as students, we need to stand with staff and demand no redundancy at all when the university is going to try and use the pandemic as an excuse. If anything, we must be demanding more resources going to staff, as online learning requires more and not less staff present. And finally, I would just like to finish by saying we are right to demand immediate action from the university, and we are right to oppose measures which only try and maximize their profit. We need to organize and push forward for change. And on this topic, I want to encourage everyone to join our Students Before Profit network so we can work together and rethink the system to put people first. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. That was amazing. And if you could put a link for that, that would be amazing. We'll move swiftly on. So thank you so much. And we're going to hear from another incredible student, Anna from Manchester Metropolitan University.
Can everyone hear me? Okay. So I just want to start off by saying, we do a lot of talk about the students and, everything that's going on with us at the minute. But I want to start off by saying that we found out over summer that a lot of our teachers have been made redundant, and that is beyond unacceptable. We were told to move in. I luckily don't live in actual university halls, so I've not been able to be locked away, but my friends have been locked away and everything has been taken from them. We were still waiting for our timetables after we'd moved in. No one was telling us anything. Originally, we were told we were going to have blended learning, but as of the 8th of October, it was all taken away. The 3 hours a week that I got to go into university, I now cannot have. They have told us that we can continue to use the university resources, but 2 hours in the library before getting kicked out is not continuing to use the university resources. I've tried to take out books. I've tried to have meetings with my tutors. None of it. I've had to wait 3 weeks for books. It's ridiculous. you know, it's, yeah. And as they're saying about testing, what testing? It's not happening. It's not happening at all. If I go into university, I'm not even having my temperature taken. So all of this that they're spewing is not happening. They are messing with not only our education, but they are messing with our mental health. They are gambling with our education. They are gambling with our well-being. They are gambling with our futures. I don't know if anybody saw yesterday, a student was very, very unfortunately found dead in their halls at the University of Manchester. How many more of us is it going to take before they do something? The union is saying that they are here to stand by us and to help us and to, you know, give us something, but we are being completely disregarded, and it is beyond unacceptable at this point. It's ridiculous. They have locked us away. They have taken everything from us, and this is what happens. It's absolutely ridiculous. And for those of us that are getting COVID, it's absolutely an experiment to get herd immunity. They just won't admit to it, because we are the ones that are being used as scapegoats. We are the ones that are being blamed for something that is not our fault. So, as Laura very well said, student before profit movement, people before profit, because we are still paying for the mistreatment and for the complete disregarding of students, our mental well-being and our futures.
Thank you so much, Anna. And that's horrendous to hear about the student at Manchester, and we send all our love and solidarity to their families at this horrific time. And it's just, unfortunately, it feels like that's just one story of many yet to emerge, and we can't let that happen. It's absolutely imperative that we highlight that this is a matter of life or death for a lot of students and a lot of staff members as well. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us and being here. We really appreciate it. I can see the hands in the chat, so I was going to say Matty, University of Manchester student, is on the call if you wanted to say something.
Hi, I'm Matty, and I'm at the University of Manchester. So me and another student who is also on this call called Molly, who I'm hoping will pitch in whenever, organised a protest at MMU a week ago on Friday, and we also had another one at the University of Manchester yesterday. And I think that what we are seeing is that yes, students are angry, and yes, students are upset. But I think as well, like, what's really important is that we build this, you know, as so many people have said, we build this like solidarity. And from I have pretty much everyone I know is in self-isolation right now, and they said that what's actually been the best thing for their morale is getting support and like direct support from their lecturers, from people they know, people who we're third years, so we've built up 2 years of trust, and I think that that's what's really important, is for students who are stuck in halls to look out of their window and see a UCU flag. I don't think the power of that can really be underestimated, and it feels like we've kind of come full circle from the strike in March, where it was students supporting our staff, and now we kind of need you. So yeah, I don't know if Molly has anything else to say, but I would say, yeah, definitely, if you are able, get to a protest, because I think that's the best way to visibly show our support to students who are in this awful, awful situation that we didn't sign up for.
Thank you so much for that, Matty. Yeah, Molly, if you want to come in, I can see your hands up. Feel free to come in.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I guess just to like follow on from what Matty was saying, I agree, the protests were really successful. So we've had 2 now in Manchester. We had one last week at the MMU halls. Obviously, I think there's like been a lot of coverage, like national coverage, against how the MMU students have been treated. So there was a really good protest there outside Burley, which is one of the halls that went into lockdown, and some of the students who were having to they're out self-isolating now, but at the time they were having to self-isolate, they came out and they were holding a big banner which said students before profit, which looked really good. And then yesterday we had another one at Owens Park, which is the University of Manchester halls, where also a lot of students are having to self-isolate. I think, especially in Manchester, there's been a lot of focus on MMU students who are having to self-isolate, but actually University of Manchester halls are also in lockdown. It's just not been kind of published as much by the university. And, you know, we've spoken to students who are in the halls, and they've said that actually the university haven't offered them any support at all. So in University of Manchester Hall, some of the students we were speaking to yesterday said that one of the halls, which coincidentally is more expensive, they'd been sent loads of food, loads of support, but the students who were in the less expensive halls hadn't been given the same support. And so I think there's really is like a really strong layer of anger at how the university have been treating students. Obviously, I know there's been protests in other places as well, and they've all looked really good. And we were kind of thinking that maybe it would be cool to go for some sort of coordinated national day of action. Obviously, there was like a lot of the students were really, really on board for the protest. We kind of started with like a few, but by the end of it, we had like a big crowd of about 60 people coming to like listen to the speeches and stuff. And so I think just some sort of coordinated action, it would be really effective in kind of driving home the point that actually like we're like a united movement, and the university administration and the government have been treating students and staff completely unacceptably. And so obviously, yeah, if we just have some sort of big protest against that, that would be good.
Thank you so much for that, Molly. And I think action is something definitely that we want to discuss later on. So thank you so much for bringing that up. We'll go to Colette Ansell next, if she's on here.
Hi, yes, I am. Hello, everybody. I am a Ulster University student based over here in Northern Ireland. The experiences that have been coming off the floor is that the information that have been distributed has been very confusing for students, and it's not just for students in halls, but we also need to remember that there are mature students who are expected to work from home around children, family commitments. They may have other caring responsibilities for older dependents, and there hasn't really been an awful lot of support going on from that. Ulster University predominantly is using online learning as a basis. Network connections and things are very difficult over here because the infrastructure isn't in place. Hello, Linda. Hello, Aisling. And there are disparities between the way Ulster is dealing with things and the way that Queen's is dealing with things. For example, Ulster is very much keeping students away as much as possible, apart from labs and things. Whereas Queen's, I have heard from another student who's based there that the rooms and the halls aren't designed, but they're trying to initiate some kind of social distancing, which isn't working. You know, people are queuing outside to get into lectures, and there have been cases there. There are around 6 blocks of accommodation that are shut down completely because there are people that are sick inside. What I would like to do is, again, I would love to support some sort of coordinated action over here as well. And I want to have a look at what the impact is, not only on our younger students, but our international students, some of which have been in halls throughout the whole lockdown because they were unable to get flights home.